podcast. So, all right, with Father's Day coming up, we're going to start with our Father's Day jokes. Would you like to go first this time?
Sure, I'll go first. Yes. All right, so what word can you make shorter by adding 2 letters?
Short.
Oh, how'd you know that? Because you're short?
Oh,
Is that a second layer?
That's a multi-level bad joke.
Yeah, sorry about that.
That's a good. Did you hear about the kidnapping at the school last week?
Oh no, what happened?
Don't worry, the kid woke up.
Your wife would not allow that in her class.
When the sun goes down, you can make it good and live by. We're not great people, we're not dirty, we're not mean. We love everybody, but we do as we please. When the weather's fine, we go fishing or go sailing in the sea.
Welcome, thanks for joining us. We are in June. It actually took me a second because we get to June so fast that I kind of forgot that it was actually June.
Yeah, the summer kind of all bleeds together. Kids out of school, you don't know what day it is. Yeah.
No, it's crazy. And as you see in the papers, all the things that are happening, all the news reports are pretty on par. Like we still are dealing with our low inventory. We're still dealing with higher prices. Those are the things that we're just working with. That's part of the deal. Mm-hmm. We, on our last few months, have been talking about buyers in general are kind of getting used to the pricing, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they are in the right position to do or make the next move.
Yeah.
Just because they're getting used to it. I have plenty of buyers that are like, I know what I need to do. The house is getting too small, et cetera, et cetera. That next step hurts and I'm not ready for it yet. So we are in a position now where we're trying to do the little things. We're trying to do like detail work to try to help buyers afford a little more, and that's not really pain, but I'll feel the bite a little bit less, things of that nature. So that way they can make that next step. Because at this point we're seeing mainly 2 groups of people, folks that are like retiring and downsizing because they retired and they're ready for it. And then we have people that are in a house that they need to get a little bit bigger. And those are the pain points that I think a lot of our people are in right now.
Yeah, the move-up buyers, especially ones that have children or maybe have one on the way, maybe they're outgrowing their current situation. It's a difficult conversation to have with them because they don't have to move immediately. They know it's the right thing to do because they need more space. So they don't want to do anything that's uncomfortable to them. They have children. They don't want to leave their current situation without having somewhere to go. So it's this double Dutch jump rope game of, do I sell first? Do I go contingent? Do I borrow money to then? There's all different types of scenarios, and we lay them all out for you. It's all about sort of which one makes the most sense for you. Again, you're talking about somewhat pain points. The mental game was the struggle early on when rates spiked, when housing prices continue to go up. The mental game of wrapping your head around the fact that we'd have rates in the mid 6s to 7% was the biggest hurdle. It has settled in now. So that part we're behind. Now it's just about moving forward and how do we prepare things. And we have a few tactics that we've been talking about.
Yeah, we just actually did we attended and I won a hat.
You did? A youth ball hat.
At the, because one of the things we're focusing on is credit scores. And a lot of my folks have really good credit, but we know that the detail work I was talking about, having a good credit score to like an excellent credit score with a couple little tweaks really can be a difference in some interest rates or buying power or things of that nature. Mm-hmm. So we have a few tips we're going to talk about this week.
Yeah. 12 years ago when I got in this business, it was almost just a yes or no. Do you have good credit or bad credit? Can you buy a house or can you not? Yeah. And we just stopped there. We just continued on and here's your pre-approval letter. Home prices were low. It was a true buyer's market. Now, with there being so much competition, we are trying to find a little edge in different, crevices of your financial profile that we possibly can. A lot of it has to do with credit. A lot of it has to do with getting to new tiers and whatever it is, interest rate pricing, mortgage insurance pricing, buying power. So early on, where it used to be, how much money do you make? Your credit's good. Do you have enough to close? Boom, here you go. It's, hey, if you pay off this credit card, which I know you probably are going to anyways, right? But it's very common nowadays for people to use their credit card all month long, get paid, pay it off. I'll say, hey, if you pay this off now and we show proof of it, you'll gain 3 points and you'll go from a 718 to a 721. And you might think, Tim, 3 points, what does that mean? That 720 tier means maybe an eighth better in interest rate. Maybe there's a new product that I can qualify you for. So we're digging in deeper earlier than we ever have before. So just, be prepared to allow me to be a little bit creative.
Yeah. And that's excellent. So, and then some of the other things you're dealing with, are you dealing with like student loan scenarios too? Are we dealing with medical things? What are some of the advice we've been giving some of the folks in those types of?
Well, we actually learned a few things. I want to go over some of these really cool tips.
Yeah. Let's do that.
That kind of dovetail on what you were saying there, which is, do you have medical bills? Do you have all these other things, and what you should and shouldn't do? And admittedly, maybe previously, maybe I wasn't given the proper advice because the algorithm for credit scores changes so quickly.
Yeah.
And we were in the seminar Billy attended last Thursday that we hosted to learn what you should and shouldn't do if you have medical bills, if you have collections, if you have credit card balances, whatever. The first thing that really stood out to me,
I know what you're saying here,
is the get rid of the Credit Karmas and things of that sort. And why is it? For years we've been battling against that. When somebody comes to me and say, well, Credit Karma says I'm at a 710 and I pull it, you're at a 660.
Yeah.
That's always been a problem. What I really, truly, and I should have known this, Credit Karma is under that Intuit umbrella. TurboTax, Mint, all these different things, they're all under the same umbrella. So what do they want? They want your data.
Yeah.
So they offer this consumer credit score so they can get your data, and so they can sell it and they can sell you stuff and they can ping you, and nobody wants that. There's already enough of that. The other thing is, the Credit Karma has a completely different model. They heavily weight towards payment history, and they do not weight towards like revolving balances and things of that sort. Whereas if you look at the credit pie for FICO, that piece that shows the percentage of your revolving balances to the credit limit is a good chunk of it, and credit history is probably equal to it. So that's exactly why. I've always wondered why Credit Karma, you come in, you say you have a 690 and I pull it in a 660. That's why it's weighted differently.
It's a big indicator too.
Yes,
it's a huge indicator.
So it's been pushed back for you, I'm sure, before, where somebody has come to you and says, I'm ready to buy and my score is X. And then I say, Billy, actually, it's lower. You go, well, how could that be?
Yeah.
So a few little details. Again, the guy who did our seminar said, get rid of the Credit Karmas and things of that sort. There's other ways for you to have a consumer, especially if you have like a credit card that reports your score, you're going to have that credit card anyways. You're not going to get rid of it. So the Credit Karma piece, do away with it, because we do not need our data being sold any more than it already is. So a few other things that revolving credit, right? So one of the big indicators for credit score is that date of last activity piece. If you have like a collection, and logistically you look at that and go, I should probably pay that off.
It depends on what time.
It depends on, yes.
Yeah, that's a big one.
If the goal is to improve your credit score, do not do that, because you're taking a date of last activity from whenever that collection hit, and you're now bringing it to present day. So it could go from May of 2022, where it started, to now June of 2024, date of last activity. Your credit score now kind of looks like you have a new collection with a zero balance, but it's newer. Worse for your credit score. So again, before you do anything credit-wise, please talk to us.
And you don't have to pay it all off all the way too. Like he says, sometimes holding a little bit of balance, and this would be a Tim question, because you have the debt to income, but holding a little balance sometimes helps as well.
Yeah.
You don't have to pay them off all the time. And I can't remember the percentage. What percentage?
10%.
10%. Can't be, don't spend over the 10% of the credit card limit too, because that influences negatively your credit score.
Well, if you do, just pay it down right away. Some people will make a big purchase. You go buy whatever it is, a couch, and you put it on a really high limit credit card. All you do is, you go in the next day or day after, and you just pay it off, pay it down to 10% or beneath. And now you've used the credit card, which you want to do. You can get the points, you can do all that kind of stuff. Get beneath that 10% threshold. We used to we would always say 30%. And in that room, if you remember, he said, what percentage? And several of us said 30%. He just said, no, the algorithm changed. It's 10% now.
Now, here's the other thing. I think we was chatting with it too. You probably remember better than I do. But a few things like student loans and medical loans, that hurts your debt to income ratio, but not necessarily your credit scores.
So
unless you're late.
Right. Late payments are always the bugaboo there. But if you have student loans, you're just paying on them. That is more of a debt to income ratio conversation. Can you qualify with this student loan payment, or do you need to pay them off in order to qualify for the mortgage that you want? But it's not a credit score dictator necessarily unless you're late.
I always thought that was an influencer having that debt. I thought, but I obviously is wrong.
Yeah, just the existence of credit or student loans on your credit, it's not really a bad thing. The bureaus kind of know that it could be a necessary evil to get you to where you want to be in life. Just don't be late. That's period.
The other last trick that I was surprised by is if you have a child that's old enough of age, that if you make them a
authorized
user, they can absorb some of your credit history and actually become maybe more advanced borrower.
Yes.
If your credit's good. Because if your credit's 5, it doesn't really, like 500 is bad. But if you're in the 700s and all of a sudden you have a co-authorized son or daughter, then all of a sudden they've got a pretty flush credit history as well.
Yeah. So for example, if you have an 18-year-old child,
mm-hmm.
and as the father, I have a really solid credit card that I've had open for 10 years, my Chase Sapphire or whatever it is, and I have the balance low and I know my credit scores are good. I put my 18-year-old son on as an authorized user. He or she now has the 10 years of Chase history on their credit report. So they go from a credit score of 0 to probably pretty darn good right off the bat.
And they didn't do anything.
You can really set your child up for success rather than having
cool.
to build credit from scratch.
So we have the credit scores we could do to help out. We have our debt to income, which is also very important. And Tim can sit down with you and say, pay this off, pay that off, pay this much of that off. All those help you with your buying power as well. Is there anything else that we have come across that kind of helps, but we haven't really thought of?
So the one thing I've spoken to a few clients about recently is that scenario we talked about earlier on this video, which is I'm in my house, I have children, I want to make that move up purchase, I need more space. I'm going to make 80 grand off of this sale. And the knee-jerk reaction is just to say, take 80, move it over to new house, 80 grand into new house, period. But again, if we have this chunk of money where we can be creative with paying off a few debts, if you have a car note and the interest rate's a little bit high, or it is a shorter term, so what happens with a shorter term payment a little bit more versus a 30-year fixed mortgage, that balance is kicked out over 30 years. We might say, you know what, let's get rid of this $900 truck payment. I know it's going to be gone in 3 years, but at least, your mortgage payment if you're taking 50 grand to pay off a $900 a month truck, 50 grand on your mortgage, significantly less than $900 a month. So you're net to the good for those first 3 years significantly in terms of your monthly output. So, I'll present those types of options, whether it be needed or not. It's just kind of something that I allow people to think about. And a lot of times they say, you know what, it does make sense for me to get rid of that because this mortgage payment would be a lot more palatable if I don't have that $900 a month truck payment.
There's a lot of options. I didn't even think of those types of things. Either you have that $900 payment and you, for example, and you need to pay that off with the sale of your house. I mean, you can make extra payments on your mortgage. You can invest it more into retirement. You can do some things to set yourself up for success. So don't just think of it as I'm got a higher mortgage payment. I'm in a bigger house now, but I have all these options now. I've got to use this equity built up in my house that I've earned through owning a home that I really need to be creative with and make some good decisions for my family for.
Yeah. So let's say that scenario it's a $50,000 balance. The payment's $900. To pay off the auto loan, that means I have $50,000 less to put towards my down payment on my mortgage. Let's say that delta is $200 a month. That would be a higher mortgage payment, $200. So you're $700 to the good per month. If you did some smart things with that $700 per month, invest it, put it away, put it towards principal, and then of course, ideally, in that if there's 3 years left on that truck payment, hopefully by that 3-year mark, you will have refinanced your mortgage as well. So again, those scenarios are things that we're looking at now to be a little bit more creative because we know that there's some pain points. Years ago we didn't have to. Now we're very diligent, so a little bit more thorough nowadays.
So you have a lot of options. Dear home, future home buyers or current homeowners, you have options. You have things you can do to set yourself up for success, and we want to be sure we give you an array of options. Not to confuse you, but to give you the opportunities. We won't just say, hey, anything goes. We're going to say, all right, what are some of your goals? And here's some options based on some of your goals. So we kind of work backwards a little bit. So, all right, man. That's it. That's
Happy
it for
summer. It is June. Happy Father's Day.
Happy Father's Day to
All
the
the dads out
fathers.
there.
Work
Yeah.
on your jokes.
I don't need any word.
Yeah. All right, sir. We appreciate you again this month.
Yep.
Credit scores and all kinds of fun things. Get yourself set up because we've been spending a lot of our time educating and getting our buyers ready. It's the preparation that we're spending most of our time in. Because the inventory is so low. Once you do all that prep work, the options, there's not a million options out there. You'll have a few options. So the prep work is very important right now.
Yeah.
So
We'll see you in July.
see you in July. June, we have axe throwing and so forth tomorrow.
Molly's?
Yep, Mully's. We have beer and axe throwing and a taco truck and a couple of vendors. We're going to have the guy makes the wooden flag signs and tumblers and bicycle company. You know, there's a local bicycle company
That makes bicycles?
They buy and sell and fix.
Yeah, that's awesome.
So we'll have all those types of vendors.
I need one. I don't have
Talk to them.
Okay.
We have all those vendors all set up, ready to go there tomorrow. So we'll see you. And again, thanks for your time here today in June.
Yeah.
I'll see you next month for July.
When I did it, when I mean,